Hello everyone, welcome back to Morgan's Movie Collection. It has been a little while, but I'm very excited to be back today showing one of my full collections, actually, from a particular Blu-ray label. It's only a small collection, admittedly. Warner Archive is what we're looking at today. They're a good label, they're a great label. They don't have a phenomenal output of movies in the UK market. They have much more going on in the US market, which is a little bit annoying, obviously, but think of it like Criterion in that sense, where obviously their library is massive. Their library is enormous. They're constantly putting great Blu-ray releases out there. In some situations, the only good Blu-ray release that you can find of a particular movie. But obviously with rights issues and things like that, us in the UK only get a select handful of releases from them every year, and whatever they can figure out to give us as well, which we're obviously very grateful for. And like I said, there is only 6 movies in my Warner Archive collection. There are quite a good few more that are available in the UK market that I do definitely want, but we have a nice mix here of old Hollywood eras, a lovely mix of genres for it only being 6 movies, and they're a good label. They're a good label. I find maybe them a touch expensive for the fact you're not necessarily getting, defined artwork with them, beautiful looking cases, that sort of stuff, or even loads and loads of features. But like I said, sometimes they're the only good Blu-ray you can get of these movies, and the movies themselves you can never fault. So it's one of those sort of situations. We'll stop rambling, because we'll definitely start with 1947's Crossfire. We're starting obviously with great noir. There is actually only 2 of these 6 movies that I have actually seen. Crossfire isn't one of them yet, although I believe we're going to be covering it on an upcoming series on It's a Wonderful Podcast, the main show, if I remember rightly, which I'm very excited for. I mean, as far as a cast goes, 3 Roberts, Robert Young, Robert Mitchum and Robert Ryan, and your leading lady being Gloria Graham. It's directed by Edward Dmytryk. I mean, it's a hard-hitting noir about anti-Semitism and kind of the horrors of it, the real grittiness of, discrimination and that sort of thing. Rather interestingly, I find that it comes out in 1947 as well, because the Best Picture winner for 1947 was Gentleman's Agreement with Gregory Peck, which we have covered on It's a Wonderful Podcast, the main show, which is also obviously an anti-Semitism movie, where Gregory Peck pretends to be Jewish and finds finds it very difficult, finds the discrimination very, very surprising, and very, very frank. And obviously it coming out in 1947, it being a very big topic in the world at that particular point, just post World War II, and it really coming at the height of the noir cycle in the US as well, particularly. I think 1947 generally is a very underrated year for Hollywood movies, and look, I'm very interested, very excited to finally watch Crossfire. You do get a couple of features in this commentary with Alan Silver and James Orsini, an audio interview with Edward Dmytryk, the director, so that's good, and a featurette on the movie. Crossfire hate is like a gun. But like I said, you can't fault the cast. Sam Levine and Paul Kelly are in it as well. Stylistic backdrops. Flourishes around a topic rarely before explored in films. Hollywood takes aim at injustice and catches bigotry in a crossfire. Again, yeah, tense, well acted thriller according to Pauline Kael. What more could you possibly want? Why haven't I watched it yet? I don't know. Maybe I'm holding out for the main show. But the Crossfire starts us off today. Followed up with Fritz Lang's first American movie, Fury. I think it's his first American movie. Sylvia Sidney, Spencer Tracy. Young Spencer Tracy, obviously. This is 1936. So I do think it is Lang's first American movie, actually. Supporting cast, Walter Abel, Bruce Cabot, Edward Ellis and Walter Brennan. Very nice. It is produced by Joseph Mankiewicz as well, so that's quite fun. This is a prison movie, if I'm rightly saying. It is. Joe Wilson, a wrongly jailed man thought to have died in a blaze, started by a bloodthirsty lynch mob, is somehow alive, and dead to all he ever stood for and perhaps ever will. Because Joe aims to ensure his would-be executioners meet the fate Joe miraculously escaped, Spencer Tracy is there, obviously. Sylvia Sidney is his bride-to-be. And Fury lives up to its volatile name with its searing indictment of mob justice and lynching. In his first American film, there you go, Lang combines a passion for justice and a sharp visual style into a landmark of social conscience filmmaking. There you go. It's the great mix of what Lang's great at. Like he said, justice. You think of M, arguably Lang's best movie. It is an indictment of mob justice, and clearly this is him bringing that over to the US. Again, you're gonna be dealing with hard hitting stuff. You're gonna be dealing with quite nasty stuff here, but look at the two that are leading the movie. Spencer Tracy, there's nobody like Spencer Tracy, and Sylvia Sidney is somebody I'm constantly getting more and more in love with every time I see her in a new movie. Fairly recently on It's a Wonderful Podcast, we've done You Only Live Once from 1937, which is Lang's second American movie, also starring Sylvia Sidney and Henry Fonda. And that's great, and she's wonderful in that. Again, very, very excited to finally watch this movie at some point. I am a big Fritz Lang fan, and a big fan of this kind of hard message movie. I like it. Features, you get a commentary with Peter Bogdanovich, which is quite nice as well. Bogdanovich, I should say. And audio interview excerpts from Lang, as well as the trailer. Very interesting. We like it. Next, we don't have something quite as hard-hitting, but it's another prison movie, and it's the movie I have actually seen. I talked about this a little while ago on an episode of Monday Madness, actually. This is Barbara Stanwyck in Ladies They Talk About from 1933. It is it's directed by Howard Bretherton and William Keighley. It's a great little prison movie. It's quite fun. It at times look hard. It's the early 30s kind of working girl attitude, and I love that about Stanwyck in this movie. And Stanwyck brings a certain power to this. She's able to obviously play a sense of emotional intensity, but while having a reserved nature, coldness that I always really like about Stanwyck. But she's pretty ruthless in this movie, really, and it's a love story as well. It's her falling in love with a prison reformer who kind of tries helping her out in different ways. Not that she always loves that. Features you get with this, you get an old cartoon in this, so that's quite nice. And the trailer, again, not massive features. 69 minutes, though, what can you fault that with? I love that. 1933, early 30s prison movies are always entertaining, are always very, very interesting. That's definitely one of them. Definitely check that one out. Let's bring the silliness next, with Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, with Cary Grant, Myrna Loy, and Melvyn Douglas. I mean, we did cover this on It's a Wonderful Podcast, the main show, quite a long while ago as well. I think it went down as the silliest title in It's a Wonderful Podcast history. It's a daft rom-com about, obviously, Mr. Blandings wanting to build his dream house, about domesticity, about that kind of stuff. It is moving on in life, I suppose, but it is very much a hijinks ensue kind of movie, an anxiety of becoming a homeowner kind of rom-com, and these two are great together. I mean, Cary Grant and Myrna Loy obviously are wonderful, but together they are really, really great as well. And I'm not sure if you might not think they would go together. You might think they belong maybe in different eras. I mean, I think Myrna Loy, I immediately think The Thin Man, so I immediately think her and William Powell. And Cary Grant, maybe, he's not quite there in terms of romantic, witty banter between him and his co-lead, in the same time Myrna Loy is necessarily, but I do find them great together. There's obviously a big picture of Cary Grant behind me, so I obviously very much like him, but do check out the slightly old episode of It's a Wonderful Podcast on this movie. It's a great time, it's a funny time, it's a light rom-com. Again, a nice change of pace from some hard-hitting movies we've started off with, but we're moving into hard-hitting a little bit again with a movie I am absolutely desperate to see, but I'm definitely holding out for an episode of the main show to watch. The only feature with this one is the US trailer. I think, what features do you get with Mr. Blandings? You get 2 radio productions, which are quite nice, one starring Grant and Irene Dunn, and one starring Grant and Betsy Drake. You get a cartoon and a trailer, so you get a little bit of good stuff with that. This is John Huston's The Misfits, from 61, 62, 61, there you go. Again, look at different era, but it is obviously, famously, Clark Gable and Marilyn Monroe's final movie, before they both passed away. Monty Clift as well. I mean, it's screenplays by Arthur Miller, obviously was married to Monroe, and John Huston directs the movie in the modern western that this one is. I have purposely not looked too much into the plot of The Misfits. I really, really want to go into watching this for the first time reasonably blind, just knowing that it is this kind of poignant feeling final movie for 2 phenomenally iconic performers. But I'm so excited about doing that. John Huston as well, obviously I've dropped the movie, it's fallen out. But John Huston always delivers as well. He is definitely one of my very, very favourites. Thelma Ritter is in this movie as well. Eli Wallach is in this movie as well. I mean, what more could you want? Again, what more could you want? The Misfits. Can't wait. Honestly, I can't. Lastly, a western. It's always nice to throw a western in every now and again. And this is one of Jimmy Stewart's with Anthony Mann. This is The Naked Spur from 53. I want to say it's 53. It is 1953. lovely Technicolor westerns, Anthony Mann's dark westerns with Jimmy Stewart, allowing Jimmy Stewart to be a little bit nasty, allowing him to get a little bit harsh, get a little bit cruel and rugged, and he's very good at that. You know, The Man from Laramie is a great example of that we have covered on the main show as well. And Janet Leigh's in this as well. Robert Ryan again, Ralph Meeker, Millard Mitchell. It's a good cast. It's a very good cast. But The Naked Spur, what is this movie about? It is money splits better two ways. Oh no, what's it saying? Plain arithmetic. Money splits better two ways instead of three. Smooth-talking outlaw Ben Vandergroat reasons to his captors. Three bounty hunters thrown together by chance. They're taking him to justice in Abilene, but Ben has other ideas. If he can set the men against each other, play on their greed, their fears, their vanities, he may be able to make his break to freedom. Greed in a western. What more could you possibly want? Greed is a great topic to always bring up in westerns. It always works well. And, you know, with the quality you've got behind and in front of the camera here, why would it not? In the third of his 5 landmark Anthony Mann westerns, Jimmy Stewart stars as the relentless leader of bounty hunters caught in the snare of the hunted. Robert Ryan plays the hunted one there. Tough, sweating with tension, and towering as tall as its breathtaking Colorado Rockies setting. The Naked Spur is simply one of the best westerns ever made, according to Leonard Maltin. We always trust Leonard Maltin. That's very nice to hear. Features-wise, you get a speciality short, which is very nice. You get a cartoon as well, and the trailer. Lovely Technicolor, lovely western, nasty western. Again, why would you not be excited to watch this? Maybe one to do on the main show at some point as well, but I'm not necessarily holding out for an episode before I watch this. But there are the 6 movies we have in the Warner Archive collection. Like I said, there are a good chunk more that I want that are available to me. I just find it unfortunate at times. I'm waiting for some sort of 2-for-1 sale or something like that may come about. I think if there is that, then it's very, very worth it. But you tend to find them for about £15, and obviously they are base Blu Ray, you know, displays. There's nothing new about the artwork. The features are decent, but not all the time. But it's the movies themselves that sell it, I suppose. And like I said, in many cases, it is the only good Blu-ray you can get of these wonderful, wonderful movies. But there we go. Warner Archive. Let me know what you think about Warner Archive as a Blu-ray label, about those movies, if you have seen them, if you're interested in seeing them, all that good stuff. Stay excited. Subscribe, ding the notification bell on this YouTube channel for more of this and more of everything else that we do over here. Of course, subscribe to the main podcast feed as well. Wherever you get your podcast, it's the wonderful podcast over there. For Monday Madness, for Morgan Hasn't Seen, and of course, for the main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast, celebrating old movies every single week. There are Patreon links, donation links in the description down below, social media as well. There we go. Until next time. I'll try and be back soon with another Morgan's Movie Collection, but until then, bye.